"You'll be out by the end of the month, right?" Natalie asked it like she was reminding me about a dentist appointment, not kicking me out of the house I helped save. She didn't look up from her toast, some overpriced gluten-free thing she orders in bulk. My hand paused mid-stir in the oatmeal pot. I thought maybe I'd misheard. "Excuse me," I said, careful not to let my voice crack. She finally glanced up, smiling, like this was a perfectly reasonable conversation. "The baby's due in 6 weeks, and we want to get the nursery finished. The contractor said they can start the drywall upstairs as soon as the room's cleared out." The room. My room. Derek sat across from her, sipping his coffee, scrolling on his phone. He didn't even flinch. "Natalie," I said slowly, "I thought we agreed I'd stay to help with the baby. That was before Mom offered to stay with us after the birth," she said quickly. Too quickly. "And it's getting kind of crowded, you know. We just need the space." I looked to my son. "My only child." He didn't look up. "Derek?" I asked. He cleared his throat but didn't meet my eyes. "It's not personal, Mom. It's just, we need to think about what's best for our family." The silence after that stretched long enough to feel like a slap. I turned back to the oatmeal, gave it another stir. I didn't say a word. Inside, something shifted. This house I helped with the down payment. Paid the mortgage for 5 months when Derek lost his job. I cooked, I cleaned, I picked up the kids from school. I poured everything I had into this roof, these walls. And now I was a liability. An inconvenience. I turned off the stove and reached for the smaller pot to warm milk for the twins. My hands moved automatically, but my mind was already somewhere else, wondering just how much was left in that private account Henry and I had once labeled, "in case they turn cold." After Henry died, I didn't have a plan, just grief, a too-quiet house, and a son who said, "Move in with us, Mom. It'll be good for everyone." I believed him. I packed up my life in 3 days. Sold the car. Henry used to drive to the hardware store, canceled our anniversary trip to Lake Crescent, and moved into their upstairs room, the one that used to be Derek's before college. I kept the walls bare. Didn't want to make it mine. Just wanted to help. Back then, Natalie was polite. Not warm, but polite. She thanked me when I folded laundry. Smiled when I made soup. I thought we were settling into something. A rhythm. When Derek lost his job that winter, I dipped into my savings. I paid 5 months of mortgage without a second thought. Didn't tell them how much it drained. Just told them I've got it. When the twins were born, I was the one who rocked them through colic and fevers. I made bottles, wiped counters, paid the electric bill once when it came too close to shut off. I kept the pantry full. Birthday cakes. Spaghetti nights. Every casserole that came out of that oven had my hands on it. I didn't ask for anything. Not a thank you. Not even a room of my own. Just a place to belong. Last spring, I heard Natalie talking on the phone while I watered the plants outside the kitchen window. She thought I'd gone out for the mail. Her voice was too loud, too clear. "She's just extra weight," she said. "This house would feel so much lighter if she wasn't here." My hands froze on the watering can. Extra weight. I stood there staring at the basil I'd planted for her chicken recipes and felt something wilt that had nothing to do with leaves. That night, I sat on the edge of my narrow bed and reopened the folder Henry and I had once put away: bank logins, insurance, the quiet plans you hope you never have to use. The password still worked. I told them I was going to the pharmacy. It wasn't a lie, I did pick up Natalie's iron supplements. But first, I drove to the county records office with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. The clerk was young, friendly, too chipper for someone sitting behind layers of glass and quiet disappointment. I gave her the address and my ID. She tapped a few keys, hummed softly, then frowned. "I'm not seeing your name here, ma'am." I blinked. "I'm sorry." She tilted the screen just slightly. The property's deed lists. Derek Doyle and Natalie Doyle as joint owners. That's it. No, there must be a mistake. I helped them buy that house. I co-signed. My voice cracked. It used to be in all three names. She nodded politely, the way someone does when they've heard this kind of story before. It may have been, but this version of the deed was recorded after a refinance 2 years ago. Only their names are on it now. I didn't ask for a copy. I didn't need one. The message was clear. Somewhere between lullabies and mortgage checks, my name had vanished. I sat in my car in the parking lot for a long time. My phone buzzed. Natalie texting, "Can you pick up almond milk too?" I didn't reply. 2 years ago. That meant they'd made the change while I was rocking the twins to sleep. While I was scrubbing bottles. While I was budgeting out how to stretch my retirement check so we'd have a full fridge. They never told me. Not once. That night I found the old envelope Henry had labeled Plan B. Inside were notes from a meeting we'd had with a lawyer just after he got sick. A reminder scratched in his handwriting. "If they ever stop seeing you, make sure you see yourself." I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering when exactly I'd gone invisible. By morning, I had an appointment scheduled with a realtor. I started packing at night when the house was quiet. First the photo albums, then the letters, then my mother's pie plates that no one else ever used. I didn't say a word to Derek or Natalie. They were busy arguing about backsplash colors for the kitchen remodel. In the back of the hallway closet behind some outgrown baby clothes and a broken humidifier, I found it. A plain cardboard box taped once and yellowed at the edges. I hadn't seen it in years. Inside were the letters, dozens of them. Some from when Henry and I were just dating, others from the early years of our marriage. But tucked at the very bottom was a single folded note, different from the rest. The handwriting was his rougher from the cancer treatments. Always have a door they don't know about. I remembered the day he said it. Half joking, half worried, sitting at the kitchen table with his prescriptions and a pencil. He was trying to make me laugh, but I think even then he knew. Life could turn on you fast. I read it 3 times before I set it aside. Then I opened my laptop. The real estate agent's photo made her look far too young, but the reviews were solid. I filled out the contact form, clicked submit, and leaned back in my chair. It felt like pressing a reset button no one knew I still had. By morning, she'd emailed back. There was a 2-bedroom cottage available just outside town. Quiet street, older home, solid bones. I asked to see it. Cash buyer, I wrote. No contingencies. I didn't tell her about the iron supplements or the remodel or how Natalie now parked in what used to be Henry's space. I didn't need to explain. I kept the letter in my purse after that. Folded, worn at the crease. Like a map. Like a key. The realtor called to confirm the showing time just as Derek asked me if I could pick up the twins from school. I said yes. Then I added a lock to my suitcase. The house was smaller than I imagined, but the first time I stepped onto the porch, I felt my shoulders drop. No toys in the yard, no voices calling from upstairs, no one asking what was for dinner. Just stillness. The front door stuck a little and one of the steps creaked, but I didn't mind. I walked through the empty rooms with the agent trailing behind me, rambling about comps and new insulation. I nodded politely, but I wasn't listening. I could already see where the coffee mugs would go, where I'd hang Henry's clock. The offer was accepted that same week. I paid in cash from the rainy day fund Henry and I built over 30 years, odd jobs, bonuses. Grocery store loyalty checks. We kept it quiet, tucked in a separate credit union account only he and I knew about. I never thought I'd actually use it, but I was glad we had. While the sale processed, I scheduled an appointment with a lawyer recommended by one of the nurses I used to work with. We sat in a quiet office as I updated my will. Everything this new home, my savings, and the leftover funds from Henry's life insurance would go to a local shelter that supports older women forced to start over. Not Derek. Not Natalie. Not the children I raised while their parents picked tile samples. That night, I went online, and ordered security cameras, motion detection cloud storage alerts to my phone. I didn't think they'd come looking, not yet, but I wanted to be ready when they did, because eventually they would. The day I signed the final paperwork, I drove to the new house alone. No fanfare, no keys handed over with champagne. Just me, the creaky step, and a door that finally opened to something I could call mine. I stood in the empty living room for a long time, letting the silence settle in. Then I turned off my phone and got to work assembling the bed frame. I moved while they were at work. The movers arrived at 7 sharp, 2 quiet men with strong arms and no questions. I had everything ready. Boxes labeled drawers emptied, my life folded down to essentials. They worked quickly. No one noticed. By 9, my room was bare. Just the outline where my dresser used to sit, and the faint imprint on the carpet from the rocking chair I'd once used with the twins. I didn't linger. I didn't cry. I left the keys on the kitchen counter right next to Natalie's glass jar of organic granola. Beside the keys, I placed a folded note. Not sentimental, just practical. Drip under the sink is the valve, not the pipe. Twist it, left, not right. Oven runs hot 25 degrees higher. Birds start nesting in the eaves mid-March. They like the ivy. You might want to trim it. Then I added the photo. It was an old print, back when Derek still called me Mom, with warmth in his voice, before Natalie started making sideways comments about boundaries and personal space. We were all standing in front of the house, Derek, Natalie, the twins in my arms. The paint was chipped, the lawn half dead, but we were smiling. I thought about leaving a message on the back, something like, "Remember this," or "Once this was home," but I didn't. I slid it beneath the note and walked out without looking back. My car was parked 2 blocks down, just in case. I didn't want neighbors asking questions. I didn't want explanations. By noon, I was at my new house drinking cold coffee from a paper cup on my porch. The wind felt different here, cleaner. Nobody knew my name. Nobody expected dinner at 6. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzed. A voicemail. Derek. Mom, where are you? Natalie's freaking out. Did you move out? You didn't say anything. You could have at least... I didn't listen to the rest. I deleted it and turned the phone face down on the table. The first few weeks were quiet. No knocks, no calls. I planted marigolds by the mailbox and stocked my pantry with exactly what I liked: real butter blackberry jam, one kind of cereal. I slept through the night for the first time in years. Then, out of nowhere, the calls started. It was Derek. Missed call. Then another. Then a voicemail. Hey, Mom. We noticed you didn't leave a forwarding address. Natalie's parents are moving in next month, and we just assumed... Well, we thought you'd still be close by. Look, I don't want to sound pushy, but Natalie's kind of counting on the help, especially with the baby coming and all. Could you call me back? I didn't. 3 days later, another message. Mom, seriously, where are you? We didn't even know you were planning to leave. Natalie's upset. She said you just vanished. I told her you were probably just giving us space, but you could have said something. I stared at the screen and pressed delete. The next one was shorter. We're your family. You don't just disappear on your family. I turned the volume off after that. They didn't want me until they needed something. I kept busy. I learned the names of the birds that visited my porch. I found a used bookstore in town and bought myself a battered copy of a novel Henry once loved. I cooked for one, cleaned once a week. No noise, no messes I didn't make myself. And still, the messages kept coming, each one more urgent, more entitled. Natalie finally left one of her own. We assumed you'd help. It's what moms do. I laughed out loud at that one, as if motherhood were some open contract they could invoke at will after they tore up every line of it. The doorbell rang that Sunday. I peeked through the camera. No one was there. but someone had left an envelope wedged beneath the mat. My name on the front written in Derek's hand. I knew the car. Before I even turned the corner, Derek's old Honda parked crooked in my driveway like it had every right to be there. My stomach dropped. As I pulled up, I saw Natalie standing at the door with the twins' bags at their feet. The kids looked confused. Natalie looked exhausted, but not embarrassed. She waved at me like this was planned. I parked down the street and walked up slowly. "Oh, good you're here," she said, already turning toward the bags. "I told the kids you'd be fine with it, just until we get back on our feet." "A couple weeks max." I didn't move. "Natalie, what is this?" Derek came around from the side of the house, avoiding my eyes. "We're getting some work done at the house," he said quickly, "and her parents are staying in the guest room now. It's just, there's no space. You assumed I'd take you in?" I said quieter than I meant to. "It's not like that," Natalie said, trying to smile. "It's temporary. We'll help out around here. I'll cook clean whatever you need." I looked at the twins still in their school uniforms. One of them held a stuffed bear by the arm, dragging it across the gravel. "You left without saying goodbye," Derek added. "Like that was some kind of sin. Now you're acting like we're strangers." I took a breath. "I didn't leave to hurt you. I left because I finally realized I wasn't wanted." "That's not true," he said. But he said it too fast, too late. I bent down to the kids. "I love you both. But this house, it's not open." Natalie's voice sharpened. "You're seriously going to turn your back on your own grandchildren?" "No," I said. "I'm setting a boundary. There's a difference." I opened the screen door behind me. "You could have told us," Derek said. "You could have seen me," I replied. I closed the door gently, left their silhouettes on the porch, and went to boil water for pasta. That night, they were gone. But the voicemail that came after wasn't. The day after the driveway ambush, my old neighbor Janie called. "Honey, I ran into Derek at the store. She said like we were picking up a Sunday chat from a decade ago. He said you've changed. That something's off. You okay?" I stirred my coffee, watching the steam rise. "I'm fine, Janie. He says you shut them out, that you won't even see the kids." I kept my voice calm. "Did he mention the part where they pushed me out first?" There was a pause on the line. "No, he didn't." "Then maybe he's the one who's changed." By the end of the call, she sounded more unsure. Said she'd bring me pie next week. I didn't remind her I never liked pie. That evening, my sister called. I hadn't spoken to her in months. "I've been hearing things," she said. "That you've become cold. That you've cut off your own family." I let the silence stretch long enough to make her uncomfortable. "I didn't change," I said finally. "I just stopped begging to be seen." She scoffed. "You used to care more. I used to be exhausted." She launched into something about blood and loyalty and how she'd never shut out her children. I could practically hear the wine in her glass. I didn't argue. Just said, "Take care," and hung up. No one asked how I was sleeping, or if I liked my new garden, or how it felt to wake up without being needed. All they wanted was access to the old me, the one who gave and never closed a door. But that version of me didn't survive the last goodbye. Now every knock came with expectation, not care. Every call was a request dressed as concern. I didn't answer the next one. Instead, I opened the windows, let in the air, sat with my coffee and read the letter Henry had written me when we first talked about retirement. The last line stuck with me. "Don't be afraid to start over, especially when you've already lost everything once." By morning, I'd made an appointment with the county clerk. The lawyer slid the papers across the desk without comment. I'd already read them 3 times at home, but I took my time again. Line by line. No emotion, just clarity. The house, my retirement account, a modest trust. All of it earmarked for a shelter just 2 towns over a place that takes in women who've been stripped of their names, their savings, their footing. Women who knew how it felt to give too much and be thanked too little. I initialed every page and signed the last one with a steady hand. The lawyer looked at me over his glasses. "You sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything." On my way out, I dropped the manila envelope into the mailbox outside his office. 1 copy for the shelter. The rest filed and done. I drove home with the windows down. The trees had started to change small signs of fall threading through the green. I passed the corner store, waved at the clerk, who now knew my name, and pulled into the driveway that was finally fully mine. My phone buzzed as I stepped out. Derek. "Mom. Please call me. Just talk to me. We didn't mean for it to go this far." I didn't even open it. Just held down the message until the delete option appeared, then let it go. The silence that followed was clean. Inside, I placed the last folder into my drawer, the one marked Personal Affairs. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt done. The porch was still warm from the afternoon sun. I brought out my coffee, the mug Henry bought me back when birthdays still meant something. I sat with the quiet, watched the breeze lift the edges of the welcome mat, listened to nothing. This house was never meant to be a fortress. But now it was a boundary. A soft, strong no wrapped in wood and light. And somewhere behind me on the table, just inside the door, sat the letter with my new return address, sent only to one place. The shelter director would receive it by morning.